Welcome to the Pursuit of Truth. So I've been reading things on Facebook when they were talking about the Burnley White Lives Matter issue, and it depressed me a lot, to be honest. How people don't seem to be getting the difference between why a movement like Black Lives Matter is needed and the fact that Black Lives Matter doesn't negate the idea that every life matters. They're not saying that. It's just because the disparity between how whites and blacks are treated in so many different things, not just police, but in historically, in jobs, in their day-to-day lives. If you ask a white person if they've been racially abused, it's unlikely that you'd find a lot of them. Well, I'm pretty sure if you asked a black person on the street if they give you an incident, they would be able to give you more than one. And probably every single one of them would give you some incident that they've gone through. And when I read these comments, I can see why. There's people seem to be getting worried about their history and this, that and the other. And this whole statue business seems to have been, whoever did it, it backfired in a way, because it's taken away from the movement a bit. It's an important thing, but taking down a statue isn't going to make any difference if no other change is going to take place, changing people's minds. In fact, what it might do is make those people who are closet racists come out a bit more, like you saw with Baden Powell when he was being defended, that you've got lots of white people coming out to protest, and they probably never would have come out before, and there was no Black Lives Matter around there to even, that seemed to be created to create that division between black and white. And that's my worry, that this division is being kept alive. Every single person should be able to be treated equally, and we shouldn't be judging people we shouldn't even be categorising people by the colour of their skin, because it makes no more sense than categorising people by the colour of their eyes, or their hair colour, or their height. Whoever created the idea, whoever came up with, historically black people, the term African, like when Christopher Columbus and people like that went over there, the dark country, I think they used to call it. So that was to create this idea of these tribal people. Or maybe that's the truth. Maybe we're all tribal in that sense, and we all have that ingrained into us, like in Quatermass in the Pit, or in like Daleks or Nazis, where we have to eliminate anything that's different than us. Is it intrinsic, or is it something we're learnt to do? Why is it when the world came into the way that it did in categorising each other like this, when the first, let's assume historically cavemen did exist and that's how we were, and that when we saw different people, and back then everyone probably looked the same because we didn't travel around. So when one tribe saw another tribe of people who were all human beings but were just in a different group and just decided different cultures and rituals, why did they then think, well, this person is not us, when they probably looked exactly like each other? Like you get in the 2001: A Space Odyssey, when the monkeys are beating each other because they found a rock, even though they all look like each other. Why? What was it? Why is it in our mind that we do that? But we still have that in today with envy and things, when we see someone who has something more than us, and then we're envious of it. So is it something that's inside each one of us? Like in Quatermass in the Pit, the racial, they claimed it was Martian, isn't it? But that racial thing to purify, to keep pure, is it an evolutionary thing, if Darwin's theories have any merit? It's just unfortunate that it just makes me, when I see all these comments, when I see people talking about recently, there were parties in Notting Hill and was it Tottenham, mostly black people, I believe, from the pictures that I saw on TV. People saying, oh, it's not reported, but I saw it. And then they were saying that, how violent it is. And that's because, when they interviewed someone, they said it was perfectly fine until the police turned up, and then it changed. Now, then when on Bournemouth Beach, yesterday. It was full of mostly white people on the beach. Now, the raves were illegal because people are not meant to be having these raves because of COVID-19 and the restrictions that people are meant to be following. Now, the beach, people are not meant to be going on the beach and less than 2 meters and all that kind of stuff as well. But the police weren't deployed there. But when it was Notting Hill and Tottenham, where a black rave party, majority black people, I believe, that were having a rave party, the police were sent. And of course that's going to escalate into violence or into unrest, especially if people are drunk and this, that and the other. Now, what it would have been interesting to have seen, what would have happened if police had gone onto Bournemouth Beach and had told the majority of white people on Bournemouth Beach with pepper sprays, with the way they treated Black Lives Matter in London, the way they treated people in Tottenham and Notting Hill. If they used the same tactics there, which were all black people, majority black people, obviously Black Lives Matter now has white people in it as well, but protesters are also against the system, against the state, anarchists, if you will. Those people, if they were treated them in the same way, if they treated the Bournemouth people in the same way as they treated them, why is it that wasn't done? Why isn't it police weren't deployed to pull those people off the beach? Why weren't they used with pepper sprays? Why weren't police charging at them with horses when there were far more people on that beach than in protest? Or is it just because it's the protest you don't like? The fact that you're questioning the state, the system. You're a threat because of your mind, not because of your actions. And that's why it has to be quelled. That's why it's called civil unrest. But people don't seem to understand that. They seem to say, it seems, and also like the media, the way they show that. So obviously if you see white people on the beach just doing whatever they want, and people criticising that, and they say, but look how peaceful they all were. But there were no police there were no horses charging them, and there was no pepper spray, there were no batons hitting them, there were no pushing them around. They didn't do anything, they let them get on with it. But when it comes to Notting Hill, and when it comes to Black Lives Matter protests, even if they started off peacefully, they're charging with horses at them. We don't see the disparity in how people are treated. And it just makes me worry when people see all this and then they don't get it, and then it just makes me depressed thinking that there's no way we're ever going to get to a better world of a better people, because there's too many of us with all different views. And we're never going to get together in a way to make everyone equal and fair and live a better life than the one we're living in this system that we're living at the moment. Take care, take it easy, God bless and peace.